Ellen, thanks so much for being here. Hello. I'm
Yeah.
excited to talk, especially about networking, given that right now you're like heads down into building a product. So let's see what we can learn from you. Can you tell us a bit about who you are and what you're doing right now? 30 seconds.
Yeah,
Kind of.
absolutely. I'm Ellen Chisa. I am the CEO and co-founder of Dark. It is darklang.com. And as the Lang gives away, we build a programming language that is tightly integrated into the editor and the infrastructure. It's been a little bit of a different job for me because before this, I did primarily consumer product.
Cool. And you're like right now, you're not launched yet, officially, kind of beta launched. And like how I have no idea, like how big is it? Just out of personal curiosity, like are you a team of
Yeah,
one,
absolutely.
3,
So
20?
for a long time, we started back in 2017 and we were in private alpha until September. And during the private alpha, we only had, say, 100 people who we'd let into the product. We got their feedback continuously. We learned as much as we could. And then starting in December, we launched an entirely new version of our editor that feels a lot more textual and works a lot better for people. And so since then, we've been aggressively clearing the wait list that we've built up as quickly as possible.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
So in your life, from your perspective, what does building a network mean? What does this mean to you?
Yeah, it's really funny because I don't think I usually think of it as a network at all. I've always thought of it as just as you're doing things, you happen to meet people, and sometimes people need things that you can be helpful with, and sometimes you run into something you have no idea how to do, and so you go find someone else who can help you with it. And so I think of it a lot in terms of learning and relationship building more so than networking, maybe, which I guess the word networking for me, I associate with like creating a collection or building a Rolodex or something that like feels a little bit different.
Cool. And like, why do you care about relationship building? What is your reason that why do you personally care about, building relationships, staying in touch with people? I mean, I guess you're a software developer yourself, and it's the cliche that software developers are in their bubble and
I'm very much in my bubble, even with even with working from home. I'm very happy that I can spend a fair amount of my time by myself. So I think there's two things about it. I think one is that I have a pretty deep belief that you can't be like world-class at everything. You can be world-class at a couple things, you can be like really great at something, but most of the time, whatever you're doing, someone else is going to be better at it than you are. And you can just get more done and more happens, and you can build more interesting things when you're taking advantage of that. And I think often when people don't want to ask for help, it's like this insecurity of why don't I know this thing? But I would rather ask everyone a lot of stupid questions and learn from them and be able to use it. So pragmatically, I think it's about that. And then from the perspective of getting to know people, actually, I was thinking about this before this call. For a long time, I didn't. And then when I interviewed to go to college, I interviewed at this college I did go to, Lola College of Engineering. And they had something called Candidates Weekend, where you went for a weekend with 90 other people who could potentially be your classmates. And you did group like building exercises and you did a group interview conversation. And while I was there, it's just like the people who are willing to go to this brand new college, it's not accredited, it's never had a graduating class, are probably really interesting people. I want to meet as many of them as possible. And so I walked around for the weekend with my list, trying to meet every single person. I think that's the first time I can remember actually trying to meet people and build those relationships.
Wow. And so kind of what have you gotten out of this? I mean, you mentioned obviously learning and learning from other people. Any other stuff that you've noticed, like that staying in touch with people has brought to you?
Yeah, I think it opens up a lot more opportunities than exist otherwise. So I think when you know people and you help them, you're top of mind for them as well. So someone might say, oh, like, do you want to write and contribute a blog post? Or like, oh, do you want to be on my podcast? Or, oh, do you want to like talk at this conference that I'm organizing that just happened this week? And so you end up getting a lot of interesting opportunities because if you know people and they're thinking of someone like something they want to happen and you fill that gap in the thing they're planning, you are likely to get that opportunity.
True. Yeah, staying top of mind is key. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, how would you define your network today? I guess there are so many different social media, so many communication tools.
Yeah. So, I do keep a spreadsheet that I built
off
of. Yeah. I'm not perfect about it. People make fun of me, both for having it and for not being very good at it. So I'm not really sure if it's a lot or not enough. but it's an Airtable base. And I try every time I talk to someone, either in person or like a lengthy phone call or a video chat, to enter that in the spreadsheet. And I don't take any notes on it or anything. It's basically just who and the last time I talked to them, and then how many times I've talked to them this year. And one of the things that's interesting about it for me is I do believe in the adage of you take on the characteristics of people you're spending a lot of time with. And so I like to make sure that when I look at my year and who I'm spending time with, it makes sense. So I have that. And then I also have it tagged by city and by job role. And so the reason I tag by city is Facebook used to have this feature called graph search, where you could look up everyone who lived in a city when you were visiting, which was important to me because I traveled and I wanted to make sure I could catch up with people when I could. And then they took it away, and then I got rid of Facebook. So now I just use that to figure out who I should see when I'm going somewhere. And then for the jobs, it's helpful if I say, if I'm trying to hire an engineer, I can go through and be like, okay, engineers, there are a lot of engineers I know, but I can kind of go through and be like, is anyone I already know perfect for this job? Do I think anyone on this list would definitely know someone who would be perfect for this job? And so it makes it a little bit easier rather than just having to like sit there and rack my brain. I can use it as a support system for that.
I'm super curious about how you're maintaining this list. So wait, so you have one thing for location where you know where everyone is, and then also like what they do. So kind of like you tag them per job. Or... Wow.
Yeah, and then I sometimes will tag them by how, and this is the imperfect column, there's a column that's just other tags where if I met them at a specific conference, I might tag them for that conference. So then I can think about if I'm going to that conference again, I'll go through and be like, oh, are you going to be at this conference again? Would like to see you again, that sort of thing.
Cool. And how long does it take to maintain such a, I guess like it grows pretty fast, such a spreadsheet?
Yeah, it's organic. So I think I didn't calculate it for 2019, but I did calculate it for 2018, and I was meeting about 2 new people per day. So there were usually about 2 new entries to the sheet per day.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, at the time I was interviewing a lot because we were hiring, we'd been fundraising. So like I met a lot of investors. I was going to like DevTools was new space for me. So I was spending a lot more time meeting new people in DevTools. I would expect that it would be a little bit lower now, especially now that we're all sheltering in place, but yeah, a couple of people a day.
Okay. And then would you like review them, like to check if stuff has changed, if they have taken on a new job, or no, it's just then it's static? And
it's not entirely static. I will change it. So if I see someone again and they've changed jobs, I'll update what their job is. Or if like I am talking to someone and they tell me they move and I go to update the, like I saw this person, I'll change that they moved. But it's not like, I don't like review the whole thing every day. And I don't even have a thing that's like, I should connect with someone I haven't seen. Like the original purpose was the template I worked up had like a column of days since contacted, and then recommended that you email people. But I don't want to just be sending people emails for like the sake of it. So I only email people or reach out when I really want to see someone. The spreadsheet's more of a record or a tool, not like you should do this.
Cool, absolutely. And so besides your kind of professional network or the people you know, are you part of some communities like I don't know, like Slack channels, or well, no Facebook groups in your case, but yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have a range. I have a few like group text threads that are like for my close friends that are pretty active. So I enjoyed those, but then it's also with Slack communities. I really find that when you're in a Slack community that's like 100 or fewer people, it's a much more tight-knit group and you can get into like real conversations. And then there's also the mega communities where it's thousands of people, but those are good if you want to like look for an article or look for a specific resource or like share something you've written. And so I think they kind of fill different roles.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Okay. Yeah. And so you mentioned that you kind of started to think about networking and when you went to college, and like now, how big is your network? Like this spreadsheet, how many rows do you have now?
Oh, so I mean, I didn't start keeping a spreadsheet until a couple of years ago. I think the spreadsheet has about 2,000 rows, which is, and it's different. So like the spreadsheet has about 2,000 rows. I have like 2,500 friends. I call them friends on LinkedIn. Everyone tells me that's weird. So whatever you call LinkedIn connections. And then I use Twitter quite a lot as well.
Okay, cool. And so, okay, Twitter, LinkedIn, any other like communication tools you use a lot?
Zoom. Use a lot of Zoom now.
Of course.
Or like FaceTime.
Yeah.
I mean, GroupMe, WhatsApp, iMessage, Signal, Slack. Pretty much everything you would expect. Email.
Cool. Yeah. Like, what's your relationship like with emails? Is it something? Do you like writing emails, or is it kind of an old school thing that you try to avoid?
No, I love email.
Okay.
I'm not very good at Snapchat or TikTok. So I think I'm like, it's hard to say. I love new technology, but also like my communication technology is probably like indicates someone slightly older than I actually am. So I like email because one, you can't lose it. Like it stays in your inbox, whereas every other platform, you clear your unreads and then it's gone and there's no way to keep track of things. And so pretty much always, if someone reaches out to me, I will try to immediately move them to email so I won't accidentally drop something they ask me to do. So if it's like important and I need to get it done, it needs to go in my email or on my to-do list. I also like email just because you can have the longer form communication. And so I would rather either write someone a lengthy email or actually get on a call or a video call and talk to them for half an hour. I don't like the like, I will send you 2 texts. Like, I guess it's nice to be like, hello, I'm thinking of you, but it's not the same as having a more full interaction.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, you're already a kind of a pro in the staying in touch field with your spreadsheet. Do you have like official like strategies or routines you use to stay in touch? Do you like go through the spreadsheet, or do you have like a day in the week where you go on LinkedIn and you just check stuff? Or
no, I just I'm lucky my memory is pretty good, so things tend to remind me of people a lot, and so when something reminds me of someone, I'll usually reach out to them.
Cool. Yeah, about reminding stuff, like do you also like try to like, so no, you said you were not writing notes about people, or do you try to remember important stuff, or no?
I do. I don't know if I try. I happen to remember things. Well, I didn't actually realize how much of a superpower this was until recently, because my co-founder's memory isn't very good. And so he has to write everything down. And we have a lot of conversations where I'm like, we had an entire conversation about this and we decided this, and he will have like no recollection of it if it's been too long. Whereas I can like go line by line by line by line exactly what happened. And I'm sure my memory is partially fallible, but it's usually enough that it gives me a bunch of hooks and things.
Okay, cool. And like, at your level, do you still try to meet new people, or do you get so much like just inbound that you don't have the energy to go outbound, or do you still like try to reach out to people or build your grow your network?
I do still meet people. So one of the ways I meet people is generally if I don't know something and I need to figure it out, I will be like, who should I ask about this thing? And then I will go figure out who would make sense to talk to about that thing. So that's pretty common for me.
And then similarly on Twitter, like reach out or like, do you have an example of this, just out of curiosity?
I think recently it's been more people I know more closely. I'll definitely do email. So I'll do my, I would call it homework. If I'm going to reach out to someone, I'll do a bunch of research about what they've written so far on the topic and why and what I want to ask them about. And then send a very specific, I saw you did this, this, and this. I'm in this situation and I was wondering this. What do you think? I'm trying to think of a more recent example, but one that I used to do a lot was when I was trying to decide if I wanted to go to business school. I emailed a lot of people to be like, hey, there's one in particular, Kate Matsudera, who's an engineering manager in Seattle. I emailed her to say, hey, I read your blog. In your blog, you used to talk about wanting to get an MBA all the time. You decided not to get an MBA, but you never really wrote about that on the blog. It just kind of vanished as something you talked about. Would you be willing to have coffee with me and talk about this? Which was really cool. She gave me really helpful advice. And then we stayed in touch after that. And she started a planner company. And then I had a version of her planner. And she invited me to a dinner she hosted in New York that was really cool. That then led to me writing an article. And so things like that, I definitely still do.
Yeah. Wow. And then that's definitely also what you're talking about, of just staying top of mind and meeting people, and then connections happen and opportunities happen. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Huh. What about mentorship? Have you ever tried to get like mentors or people? I mean, you don't have to call them mentors, but basically people to advise you or help you, and just reaching out, or?
Yeah, I'm trying to do a better job of this right now. So one of the nice things about having a startup is we have a bunch of angel investors who are all really deep experts in what we do. And so I send a monthly update every month to all of the investors with what's going on, what's top of mind for me, and then they can reach back out to me if they want to. But I've been wanting to do a better job of reaching out proactively and making sure I'm having longer conversations with them, because I really value their input. Startups are really busy, and it's sometimes it just slides by. And so I built myself a tool that now what it does is it goes through my database of investors, which is in my spreadsheet, but I also built a separate app for this, and then picks someone random and then texts me a link. And then if I click the link, it adds it to my to-do list to email them to talk about something that week.
Wait, what? So you've created an I love it. So no,
I'm
say it
very
again.
nerdy.
Yeah, I was going to say, but it's great. Okay, so It's a spreadsheet with like a no, was it an
database? It's like an actual database.
Oh, a little database. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and you can click a link. I didn't get it.
Okay, so it's a database, and then what it does is there is a cron job.
Yeah.
That triggers once a week, and what the cron job does is it emits to a background worker, and then the background worker runs like generate a random index, pull that random index from the database.
Yeah.
And then it runs then it runs a call to the Twilio API. And then the Twilio API sends me a text message that has a specifically formatted link that connects to Things, which is the to-do list system I use. And so when I click the link in the text, it opens either Things on the desktop or on my phone and adds the item.
And so the item would be like, send an email to this person, or...
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Wow. That's
which like that's actually why I like what I work on is I can build something like that. Whereas if I tried to build that using like base AWS primitives and Rails or something, I feel like it would take me like 5 days. Whereas doing it in Dart, it was like a 10-minute thing, and now I have this automated system, which reminds me to talk to people.
Wow. So I was always kind of trying to understand what you were building, but so I guess it's kind of a Zapier for the developers.
Yeah. Exactly.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Like fully customizable.
Yeah. Wow. So you have a super strong way to stay in touch with your spreadsheets and to remember what needs to be remembered. You have built your own solution to like not forget about people, and you have you just reach out to people in a cool way. How do you compare to like your co-founder and like networking skills? You seem to be like a networking superwoman.
Oh, Paul is also so Paul previously started Circle CI. And before that, he had another startup and went through Y Combinator. And so he's just been getting to know people in the startup and developer tooling space for 10 years now, I would guess, probably longer than that. And so from that perspective, he like is really plugged into a bunch of communities that are super relevant. He knows a bunch of people. He like went to Recurse Center in New York. He's been through HeavyBit, the Developer Tools Accelerator. He's been through YC. And so honestly, while we're different. So like Paul's memory is different. So like he's more apt to like have a Post-it note to remind him to talk to someone than I am in terms of like creating authentic connections. I think it's very similar.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. No, interesting. And so how, like if obviously in 10 years you want to be a better networker or a better person, a better friend or relationship pro or whatever than today, how will that be? What do you think you will do better in 10 years?
This is very funny. This was actually, I went to a management coaching workshop recently, and I told people I wanted to learn how to be a better friend, which is not what people usually say at management coaching workshops. I do think that because my brain works this way and I like turn everything into like problems and systems and solutions, a lot of the time when my friends ask me for input, I'm very quick to go to like, okay, here's a solution. Here's how we're going to build it. Here's this giant system you can use. And like, I've learned most people do not wish to have a giant system like this to automate everything in their life. They just want someone to listen and talk to. And so I'm trying to do a better job of like turning off a little bit of that like very high energy, like, let me fix this for you, and spend more time just listening to my friends and being there for them.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've definitely felt this too. So basically you're saying it's like I have this too, where you just want to fix someone's problem, like when someone complains or says there's an issue, but actually they don't want you to solve the problem, they just want you to listen. Okay, interesting. Any other things that you think, because I mean that's obviously kind of a more like high level thing to fix, but
yeah, I think it's also I think like going way back when I like early in college when I first started thinking about this, I think I definitely thought of it more as like meet as many people as possible and like keep in touch with them as much as possible. And I think now I lean more towards quality over quantity, where I want to have some like very close, strong ties for people I can go to, know everything that's going on, who I spend a lot of time with. And then also like the larger network of loose ties who are people I feel very positively towards. I want to help. If they emailed me and asked for a favor, I would definitely do it. But it doesn't mean just because someone is in that loose tie set, I have to be like, I will talk to you every month. And so I want to make sure I'm spending the right amount on like, here are the really strong relationships I'm building. And also there is this broader pool of people I'm excited to help. And maybe someday one of them will be in the stronger pool, but it's not necessarily, I need to stay in touch with them every month.
And so also, how do you kind of, obviously at some point you have to choose, you know so many people, and you have to like choose a select number of people with whom you want to stay like closely in touch. like, do you just go with the flow, or how do you approach this to choose? Because obviously sometimes the benefits can come far later down the line.
Yeah, I try not to think of it in terms of, and I used to do this, and it's like a trait I did not like about myself, but I definitely used to think about people much more in terms of like, what will this person be able to do for me? And I don't do that at all anymore. It's much more about like, I actually did this for a few months to kind of see how it was working. I would track how I felt after I talked to someone. And I don't know why I picked -2 to 2, but 2 was like, I walked out of the conversation, I was super excited, I wanted to go build something, they'd given me a great idea, like anything, like I just felt really good after. And -2 was like, oh, I feel like that person just like attacked me, or like said I shouldn't do this thing, or like really brought me down. And so I started trying to pay attention to that. So if I'm gonna be around someone all the time, I want to walk out of interactions with them feeling like excited and like happy, and like, I'm not saying I have to feel happy all the time, but like just like walking out and feeling as though the world has been improved by me talking to them.
Cool, beautiful. And you're still at the stage where there are not too many of those great people, so you don't have to filter some out.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I've never thought about it.
Okay.
I think it's just, yeah, like what happens, and like, yeah.
Cool, beautiful. And Twitter, how do you use Twitter? So just, you said you were using it a lot. Is it also like just distribution, letting people know kind of updates? Is it also like a way to meet new people?
It's both. I think I happened to start using Twitter when like everyone made fun of Twitter, and it was like the thing that you tweeted what you ate for breakfast. And so if you like read all the way back in my Twitter to 2008, it's like really stupid. But I got very comfortable being very public on it. And then there was a moment in probably like 2012 to 2014 where I started writing a lot publicly. And I spent a lot of time talking to people about it on Twitter, which meant that people started following me on Twitter. And so now it's kind of like a already built conversation for me. Mm-hmm. And I definitely talk more about kind of work-related things than personal things, but I do think it's really important to engage. And there are definitely people who I've met because they like read something I wrote, or they got to know me on Twitter, and then they emailed me something, and then like I got to hang out with them. Like there was Hoyle, who's a PM at Adobe. When he moved to San Francisco to start his first PM job, emailed me because he'd read my PM stuff. And then we hung out at 4Barrel once and had a coffee. And then I invited him to like a dinner with a bunch of friends, some of whom were like friends of friends, some of whom I'd met when I was in Seattle, one of whom I'd met from also the internet. And so like, I don't know, yeah, people just accumulate.
Cool. So if you had to like keep only one social tool, like email, LinkedIn, Twitter, what would it be? Email. That makes sense. Do you have like tons of extensions for like to make emails like more efficient, or like, I don't know?
No. I have it set up pretty specifically. So my Gmail setup is very similar to Superhuman. I tried using Superhuman, but then it like wasn't that much different than my normal Gmail experience. So I just went back to Gmail.
Okay. Cool. Beautiful. Ellen, thank you so much. Super great insights. A lot of, I mean, I was going to say, we just need the GitHub links to all these tools. No, cool. Sure. Thank you very much. Lots of insights, and yeah, interesting to see the world through your eyes. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.